Odd details you missed in Hogan's Heroes. Hollywood blockbusters are usually remembered for their grandiose special effects, A-list actors, and captivating plot lines. But seldom do we remember the details, the small elements in a movie that go unnoticed unless you really pay attention. We often forget about the intricate work of the art department, costumers, and set designers who play a huge role in making a movie look realistic. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the odd details you may have missed in Hogan's Heroes. Pay close attention next time you watch and see if you can spot any of these. Coffee grounds. When it comes to making their own uniforms look like the real thing, coffee grounds are a key ingredient for Colonel Hogan and his men. In the episode The Prisoner's Code, they use coffee grounds to make their own uniforms appear dirty. This helps to fool the German soldiers into thinking that they're the real thing. Hogan and his men are able to get a hold of the uniforms and escape from the prison camp. Coffee grounds are a handy tool for anyone looking to make their own disguise. The barbed wire. Did you know that the barbed wire in the Hogan's Heroes scene is made out of fishing line? It's much cheaper than using real barbed wire, and it's not as dangerous to have on set. Sand. When it comes to budget-friendly materials, one of the most surprising is cereal. That's right, the sand used in many beach scenes is actually crushed-up cereal. It looks pretty realistic from a distance, and it's a lot less expensive than actual sand. In fact, many Hollywood productions have used this trick to save money. So next time you're watching a movie set on a beach, keep an eye out for cereal. The cigarettes. The cigarettes smoked by the actors on set were usually fake, but not always. When actors had to smoke real cigarettes, they would often use herbal tobacco or tea bags filled with dry ice so that it wouldn't be harmful to their health. Ostrich feathers. In the episode The Amazing Herr Carter, Hogan and his men are trying to get information out of a German soldier by tickling him with feathers. Most people assume that those are chicken feathers, but they're actually ostrich feathers. They're much softer and less likely to cause irritation. The scene's pretty funny, but it's also a good example of the lengths that Hogan and his men would go to in order to get information. They were always willing to try new things, and they were usually pretty successful. That's one of the things that made them such a great team. Order immediately obeyed. Hogan was a master of strategy and deception. He was always calm and collected, even in the face of danger, and his fellow prisoners knew that they could trust him to come up with a plan to get them out of any scrape. As a result, Hogan was never seen giving an order that wasn't immediately obeyed. He was a true leader, and under his command, the prisoners of war were able to carry out some truly remarkable feats. German roles were Jewish. Klemperer, Banner, Askin, and Kane played German roles, but they were all, in fact, Jewish. The first three actually fled from the Nazis during World War II. Most shocking, though, may be the fact that Robert Clay was actually detained at a concentration camp and 12 of his immediate kin were taken to Auschwitz. This fact wasn't lost on the actors, with Klemperer admitting that if he could portray the role of Richard III, he could play a Nazi. Mercedes. General Burkhalter's flashy Mercedes-Benz W31 was one of only 57 black and gray convertibles ever produced. 54 of those were destroyed after the war, leaving only 3 in existence. In 2009, a classic car collector offered one of the remaining W31s for sale in the US for $9 million. The rare car is a collector's item not only because of its scarcity, but also because it's one of the few remaining examples of pre-war German engineering. The W31 is a reminder of a time when luxury cars were built for function as well as style. With its powerful engine and sleek design, the W31 was ahead of its time, and it remains an impressive example of automotive engineering even today. Show's tagline. Although the show's tagline, "Some call it a prison, we call it home," was meant to be lighthearted, it was actually suggested sarcastically by one of the actors. The cast and crew were always looking for ways to make the best of a bad situation, and they managed to find humor in even the darkest moments. Despite the fact that they were prisoners of war, Hogan and his men never lost their sense of humor or their ability to fight back. They were an amazing team, and they never gave up hope. Hogan's Heroes album. In 1966, the cast of Hogan's Heroes released an album of World War II themed songs. The album featured covers of popular wartime songs including Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree and Buckle Down Winsaki. The cast also recorded a number of patriotic songs, such as The Star-Spangled Banner and God Bless America. In addition to the vocal tracks, the album also included a number of instrumental tracks, featuring the show's signature marching band sound. The album was a commercial success, reaching the top 40 on the Billboard 200 chart. It remains a popular souvenir for fans of the show and a reminder of the patriotic spirit of the 1960s. Underground Steam Room. Stalag 13 was already a veritable enormous facility, with its lengthy weaving tunnels and numerous trapdoors. There was talk of providing the inmates access to the underground steam room at one time. For being too unlikely, the concept was eventually abandoned. In Rusted Out Plumbing Collapses the Emergency Tunnel, aired in 1966, Hogan needs to get 4 underground leaders out of Germany, so he creates a health spa. Violin playing. The bumbling Colonel Klink would frequently perform the violin on the program, and it typically sounded like nails on a chalkboard. It became a hilarious recurring joke. In reality, Klemperer was a classically trained and accomplished violinist and pianist. His father, Otto Klemperer, was one of the important conductors of classical music in the 20th century Germany, known as the last of the few really great conductors of his generation. Salt and paint. As we mentioned, the show was set in a wintry location, which posed challenges for filming in the warm California climate. The snow on the roof during the first several seasons was made from salt. By the 4th season, however, the show's producers had found a more permanent solution and started using white paint to give viewers the illusion of watching falling snow. By the 6th season, most of what viewers saw as snow was actually just paint. Married Klink's secretary. With such continuous exposure to one another, it's not uncommon for actors to develop romantic relationships with their co-workers. The same happened on the set of Hogan's Heroes. After meeting her on set, Bob Crane married his second wife, Patricia Olson, who played Colonel Klink's secretary, Hilda, under the stage name Sigrid Valdis from seasons 2 through 6. Crane's first marriage was to his high school sweetheart, Ann Terzian. They had 3 children together, Robert David, Deborah Ann, and Karen Leslie. Present at the same time. One noticeable aspect of the show was that the main characters rarely interacted with each other. This was likely due to budget constraints, as it would have been expensive to assemble the entire cast for every scene. However, it also helped to reinforce the isolation and loneliness that many prisoners felt during their captivity. Blew it up. The show was filmed at RKO 40 Acres Backlot, which is owned by Desilu Productions. During and after production of the series had been completed, 1974's exploitation film Ilsa took its place, with an ending that included the set being destroyed by explosion. Since this saved the producers from having to spend money demolishing it, they didn't mind. In fact, the final scene where Hogan's prison camp goes up in flames was actually authentic. Klemperer's character. The role of Colonel Klink was offered to Werner Klemperer, but he only agreed when the show's creator promised that Klink would never be successful in his schemes. After being given the assurance he wanted, Klemperer immediately signed on. As it turns out, the Hogan's Heroes producers kept their promise. Klink never did succeed in any scheme. That was a solid agreement. Frosty Reception. To avoid any continuity problems, the producers decided from the start that there would always be snow on the ground and frost on the windows. That necessitated the use of scarves and winter jackets, even when it was 90 degrees outside. Leather jacket. In 2009, Christie's auctioned off a leather jacket that was made famous by Bob Crane during the filming of Hogan's Heroes. The same coat had also been worn by Frank Sinatra in Von Ryan's Express. In 2002, actor Greg Kinnear wore the jacket in autofocus. The jacket was accompanied by a military-style Albeco shirt with attachable military pins. The Rural Purge. The show aired its first season from 1971 to 1972. It was removed from the air in what's become commonly known as the Rural Purge. That was a time when shows were canceled because networks believed they were being watched mostly by rural audiences. Other TV shows hit by the purge included The Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, Hee Haw, The Andy Griffith Show, Mr. Ed, Lassie, and Petticoat Junction. Wedding ring. Larry Hovis' dedication to his wife is clear. He wore his wedding ring throughout the entire TV series. To make sure that people watching wouldn't know that he was married in real life, the show decided to help him out by having him wear gloves and otherwise cover up his ring finger. Nighttime scenes. It seems that there were not many night owls in this crowd. The show's directors used something called a day for night filter on their cameras. That filter allows day shoots to look like they're taking place at night. This type of shooting is now pretty uncommon today, as film stocks and video cameras have improved in light sensitivity over time. Nazi Stigma. Leonid Kinski played the Russian protagonist in the show's pilot. He decided to withdraw from the series after discovering it was a comedy with Nazi characters. We would have assumed that this information had already been presented to him before he took on the part, but for some reason it wasn't. Kinski is best known for his work as Sasha in Casablanca. The drums. Bob Crane provided the drums on the theme song for Hogans Heroes. He was a talented drummer who got his start on the Skins when he was just 11 years old. He had his drumsticks on him at all times and would drum to relax in his dressing room. Crane even showed off his formidable skills on the third episode, which was titled Flight of the Valkyrie, and in the Season 6 episode titled Look at the Pretty Snowflakes. Conclusion. The next time you watch Hogan's Heroes, see if you can spot any of these odd details. And next time you watch any movie, pay close attention to the small details that often go unnoticed. These are the things that separate a good movie from a great one.